I'm Evelyn Davis, 29, a senior software engineer at a large tech company in Austin, Texas. They call my job programmer, but really, I keep the banking system from collapsing while everyone sleeps. My salary is $140,000 a year plus stock awards. My husband Caleb is 30, a structural engineer. We live in a fully paid off two-story house, drive cars that don't require a loan, and have a retirement fund that my parents consider legendary. Eve is what everyone calls me, but in my family, I'm the walking ATM. Being taken advantage of has been a part of my life. It started with small payments, then escalated to paying my brother Alistair's tuition, then to paying my parents, Arthur and Celeste, a fixed monthly allowance to keep their house. Caleb had warned me from the beginning that I was cultivating codependency, but I always found a way to justify it. They were my family. They needed me. The harsh truth came at the anniversary party I had worked so hard to prepare. It wasn't a small misunderstanding, but a deliberate public humiliation. Everything came to light when my parents banned me from attending my own brother Alistair's big party. The next day, I received a terse letter from him. Return the house keys. I calmly replied, "Congratulations. The electricity bill and the mortgage are yours." The next day, my phone showed 30 missed calls. My mother pleaded in a whisper, "Please, we need to talk." I smirked and sent a message, "Let the adults pay." This is how I burned all the bridges and got my life back. If you were the invisible pillar of the family, the one who always stands behind helping everyone, sacrificed so much but received only contempt, then give this video a like and tell me where on our dear Earth you come from and what time. Looking back, I can pinpoint the exact moment helping turned into exploiting. It was when my father, Arthur 57, was laid off due to corporate restructuring. He had been a warehouse manager, but his health and tech skills hadn't kept up with the times. My mother, Celeste, worked part-time as a receptionist at a dental office. Their combined monthly income was only about $4,000, while their mortgage and insurance alone totaled $2,000. Instead of downsizing that oversized house or finding more suitable employment, they chose to call me. Initially, it was $300 for a furnace repair or $75 to pay the electric bill. Then it settled into a fixed subsidy $800 a month transferred directly to their account on the first of the month. This money, according to Mom, was to bridge the gap in their constant budget shortfall. I even covered their car insurance, the high-speed internet service, because Dad needed it for job searching, and even premium streaming subscriptions because job searching is stressful, we need to relax. Caleb was the only one who saw the problem clearly. He is pragmatic, the son of two retired professors who planned their finances for everything from the moment they married. "Evie," he said one night as I was transferring an extra $500 to cover Mom's unexpected medical bill, "you are not helping them. You are allowing them to continue living under the delusion that money will just appear." "They're my family," I countered using the familiar mantra. "If I don't help, they will lose the house. Do you want them on the street?" Caleb sighed, his voice patient but laced with disappointment. "They won't lose the house. They will figure it out. They will have to downsize, sell a car, or find a different job. But why should they, when you are always there holding that golden safety net?" I didn't want to hear it. I wanted to believe I was the dutiful daughter, the successful older sister who had a responsibility. I remember complaining once to Trent, a close friend and coworker, about my dad asking me to buy a new large-screen TV because the old one was outdated. Trent, who had worked overseas and possessed a brutal sense of realism, put it bluntly, "You are not their savior, Evie. You are their provider of comfort. Adults solve their problems. Kids call mommy and daddy when things go wrong. But here, you're their mommy and daddy now." Trent's words were a splash of cold water, but not strong enough to break the deep-seated cycle of dependency. My family operated on the Evie will fix it system. I wasn't just supporting my parents. I was also the primary target of my older brother Alistair. Alistair, 26, had spent the last 6 years finding himself after dropping out of college, moving from retail jobs to barista courses, and eventually deciding he was a culinary entrepreneur. He had a flair for extravagant spending, posting photos at expensive resorts with philosophical captions like, "Self-care is not selfish," only to text me 3 hours later asking to borrow $100 for gas or a gym membership fee. Alistair never paid any of those small loans back. He always promised, "Little sis, when I make it big, I'll pay you back double. Just consider it an investment." I let it all slide. The mental exhaustion was greater than the financial burden. My family's dependency wasn't just about money, it was a subtle form of emotional exploitation where my refusal to help was defaulted to betrayal. I was trapped. However, I had no idea that the moment I signed the largest financial agreement for Alistair, I was digging my own grave. That agreement would be the starting point for a series of events that would destroy everything. The first major agreement took place on a dreary Saturday afternoon. Alistair showed up at our house with Sarah Wallace, his new girlfriend, a glamorous and ambitious woman who constantly alluded to being a lifestyle consultant, despite never holding a steady job for more than 6 months. They carried a thick binder which they declared was their business plan. Evie. Alistair set his eyes alight with his usual manufactured excitement. "This isn't just a restaurant. This is a sustainable culinary experience. We'll feature seasonal dishes, local ingredients, and minimalist luxury interior design. Customers won't just eat, they'll feel the lifestyle." I flipped through the binder. I had to admit, Sarah did a good job with the research. Market analysis, target demographics, competitor pricing. They had even secured an ideal location, a rundown commercial space in an up-and-coming downtown area of Dallas, and had negotiated a lease. The number they needed was $70,000. This covered the lease deposit, renovations, initial kitchen equipment inventory, and 6 months of operating costs. Caleb's reaction was immediate and firm. "Absolutely not." He put his coffee cup down. "Alistair has never held a job long enough to pay his own rent. You really think he's going to run a $70,000 business successfully?" But I was already halfway talked into it. This was the first thing Alistair had ever seemed serious about. I wanted to believe he had matured. I hired Brenda Chen, a business lawyer I knew through one of my company's clients. We drafted a proper loan agreement with a 6% annual interest rate, a 48-month term, and monthly payments of $1,745. And here was the crucial part: Alistair and Sarah had to use the small condo they were living in as collateral. The condo was already partially mortgaged, but its market value still secured my loan. When I presented the paperwork, Alistair threw a fit. "Why are you making this so complicated, Evie? We're family. This is insulting." "It's business, Al," I said, my voice firm. "You want to be an entrepreneur. This is how business works. No bank would touch you with your credit score." He eventually signed, mostly because he had no other option. The restaurant renovation took 3 months. Alistair genuinely poured his energy into it. They transformed a dull space into something that looked like it belonged in an elite neighborhood. The first 8 months went surprisingly smoothly. Payments came on time. Alistair sent me monthly revenue reports showing real numbers, and the place seemed busy whenever I drove past. I started thinking maybe Caleb was wrong. Maybe Alistair has finally grown up. Then month 9 hit. The payment was a few days late. Month 10, a week late. Month 11, no payment at all. The revenue report stopped. Instead, I got vague texts about cash flow issues and promises he'd catch up soon. Meanwhile, Sarah's Instagram account was full of weekend trips, designer outfits, and expensive dinners. Their restaurant's account shifted from posting food photos to posting motivational quotes. The restaurant was failing because Alistair and Sarah treated it like their personal piggy bank instead of a business. They skimmed cash from the revenue for personal spending. Over 20 months, they only made 8 full on-time payments, followed by 6 months of absolute silence. By the time I decided enough was enough, 25 months into the loan, Alistair owed me $70,000 in principal plus accrued interest, and he still had the nerve to act like I was the unreasonable one. My frustration was reaching a boiling point. The entitlement from my entire family was astounding. My support was no longer help. It was an inherent obligation because I had the money. Caleb had stopped saying, "They are using you." He just said, "Where is your breaking point, Evie?" I didn't know what my breaking point was until it was crossed spectacularly. The biggest family event was approaching, the 25th wedding anniversary party for my parents and Alistair's 26th birthday coming-of-age celebration. My dad had been constantly dropping hints about wanting something more special than the usual backyard barbecue. Since my brother was also about to marry Sarah and turn 26, I figured this was my chance to do something truly memorable. I decided to sponsor the entire event. I booked a private ballroom at the upscale hotel the Fairmont, costing $85,000 for the menu decor and premium bar service. I even hired a professional event organizer. And the actual gift was a vintage Swiss wristwatch valued at $15,000 that I had spent months hunting down. It was the kind of watch my dad had always dreamed of when he was young. It wasn't just about money. It was a symbol that I remembered his old stories. I called my mom to discuss the plan. She seemed overly interested in the details. Who else was coming? What exactly was the main gift, Evie? Are you sure no one knows about the watch yet? She offered to let her and Alistair coordinate everything so I could focus on the surprise. I naively agreed. October 27th, the day before the party. I carefully wrapped the watch and felt satisfied. This gift was an affirmation of love and respect. October 28th, 7 or 0 p.m. Caleb and I sat in the gorgeous ballroom at the Fairmont. Chandeliers sparkled, a massive cake was waiting, and the tables were perfectly set. The waitress asked if we wanted to order appetizers for the table. "They're just running late," I said, checking my phone. "Traffic, probably." 30 p.m. called Dad. Straight to voicemail. 45 p.m. called Mom. Voicemail. 00 p.m. called Alistair. His number was disconnected. By 8:30 p.m., Caleb and I were eating expensive steaks alone. I texted every family member I could think of. None of them responded. The wait staff started staring at the lonely couple in the beautifully decorated but empty room. "Something's wrong, Evie." Caleb said, his voice low. "This isn't an accident." I made the biggest mistake of the night. I checked social media. On Sarah's Instagram story, I saw a series of photos posted about 45 minutes earlier. The caption, "Real family celebrates together. Happy birthday, my love." The photos showed Mom, Dad, Alistair, Aunt Sharon, Uncle George, all of them. They were in my parents' backyard eating pizza from boxes and laughing. Dad was wearing a silly birthday hat, smiling wider than I'd seen him in months. The next story was even worse. Some people think fancy restaurants matter more than genuine love. We know better. I scrolled through 8 more stories. One showed Alistair cutting a sheet cake bought from a grocery store with "Happy Birthday, Alistair, and Anniversary" written in blue icing. Each story felt like a direct punch to the gut. Timestamps showed their party had started exactly when mine was supposed to begin. This was coordinated. Then the family group chat exploded. Sarah posting publicly, "Evie, hope you and Caleb enjoyed eating alone. Alistair is having a real party with people who actually care about him. Mom Celeste, best birthday, surprise ever. So grateful for those who show up when it counts." Nobody mentioned I was supposed to be there. Nobody asked why I wasn't at the party I had planned and paid for. It was calculated exclusion. I sat there reading message after message, feeling the blood drain from my face. They were punishing me for daring to ask Alistair to pay his loan and for not being their unconditional ATM. They planned the whole thing to hurt you, Caleb said, squeezing my hand. More messages flooded in Alistair. We talked about it and decided Mom and Dad deserved a celebration with people who love them, not people trying to buy their affection. Dad Arthur, I had a great time tonight. Thanks to everyone who made it special. Dad's message hurt more than all of Alistair's. He was in on it. The $15,000 watch sat in its box on the empty chair. I typed into the group chat. It's interesting that nobody thought to mention this to me. I've been sitting at the Fairmont for over an hour. The chat went silent for a minute. Then Sarah responded, "Oh, you actually showed up to that. We thought you'd be too busy counting your money to care about family." Right then, I felt something inside me snap. I stood up, walked out to the parking lot, and pulled the watch out of the trunk. I took a close-up photo of it. Then I sent it to the group chat. Me. Don't worry, I'll definitely be keeping my gift. They went nuclear. My phone started ringing immediately. Dad, then Mom, then Alistair, then Aunt Sharon. The group chat filled with protests, calling it a misunderstanding, begging me not to do anything I'd regret. I didn't answer a single call. I drove home. In the quiet living room, I looked at the gift box and the canceled cake order. I understood exactly what I was to my family, a resource. I'm going to burn it all down. I told Caleb. He nodded. Good. Monday morning, the first thing I did was call Brenda Chen, my attorney. I want to execute the acceleration clause, I told her. Demand the full balance due in 15 days, or I take the collateral and liquidate the business assets. That clause, which Alistair thought was just meaningless legal jargon, was now completely enforceable. He had been in default for 6 continuous months, which gave me the legal right to demand immediate payment of the full $70,000. Sure thing, Brenda said. I'll have the demand letter drafted by the end of business today. The contract is valid. If Alistair and Sarah try to fight this, it will cost them even more. While Brenda handled the legal side, I began cutting off the cash flow. I logged into my banking accounts and canceled all automatic transfers. The $800 monthly mortgage subsidy deleted. My parents' car insurance canceled. The internet service and streaming packages, all gone. Each cancellation felt like dropping a $30,000 weight off my shoulders. That afternoon, I drove straight to Alistair's restaurant. He was talking to a supplier, Sarah, nearby, trying to maintain their professional facade. I walked straight past them without stopping, heading into the small back office. Alistair angrily followed me. I placed the lawyer's envelope on his desk without a word. Demand for full payment. 15 days. Consequences clearly outlined in bold print. You have 15 days to pay the full amount, $70,000. After that, I take your condo collateral and liquidate the restaurant assets. Alistair stared at the papers. This is a joke, Evie. Dead serious, I replied. You wanted to play games, game on. That anniversary party was the climax of the exploitation. You breached the contract. His face cycled through several emotions, confusion, anger, then manipulation mode. You're really doing this because of a birthday party because your feelings got hurt. This is about a $70,000 loan you defaulted on. The party was just clear evidence of the family's disrespect. You were going to catch up on payments. Business has been slow. Business has been slow because you treat it like your personal shopping account, Alistair. You're done. Pay up or lose everything. He tried tears next. Evie, please. We're siblings. We're family. No, we're not, I said. Business is business. Family doesn't publicly humiliate each other over a gift. You have 15 days. I left. From the parking lot, I called Brenda Chen and told her to notify the asset recovery company regarding the collateral. Next stop was my parents' house. I found Arthur and Celeste sitting in their living room. They looked up when I walked in. I could see they had prepared some kind of speech. Starting next month, I said flatly, wasting no time. You're paying your own mortgage, all $2,000 of it. My mom blinked. Evie, we can't afford that without your help. Then I guess you better figure it out like adults. My dad stood up, attempting his old intimidation routine. You're going to put us on the street over a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. You all showed up to Alistair's party while Caleb and I sat alone at the one I planned and paid for. That's not a misunderstanding. That's deliberate. What about the watch then? Mom's voice got smaller. You got that for Dad, right? Yes. Until you decided humiliating me was more fun than having a valuable gift. The watch stays with me. You can't be serious, Dad said. How are we going to manage? You should have thought about that before you and your son pulled that stunt. I don't owe you anything anymore. That's cruel, Mom said, tears starting. We raised you. You owe us. I headed for the door. I paid all my debts a long time ago. Figure your lives out. 2 weeks passed. The 15-day deadline expired. My phone was ringing non-stop, not just my parents and Alistair, but Aunt Sharon and Uncle George. Aunt Sharon left a voicemail. Evie, you need to calm down. Family doesn't do this to each other. Your parents need help. Alistair is trying to build something and you're just being selfish. Call me back so we can fix this. I sent a group text to all of them. I've been supporting these people for years. Alistair owes me $70,000 and hasn't paid in 6 months. They organized a party specifically to humiliate Caleb and me. If any of you want to help them so badly, feel free to open your own wallets. Otherwise, stay out of it. Aunt Sharon called one more time. Your dad is my brother. I'm not going to watch him struggle. Then help him. Nobody is stopping you. I don't have that kind of money, Evie. Neither do I anymore. Figure it out. The financial consequences rolled out like dominoes. Week 3. Alistair's condo collateral was repossessed. The recovery company handled it in the middle of the afternoon. Alistair had defaulted on my secondary mortgage and failed to pay the primary bank loan for 2 months. He was evicted immediately. Sarah posted crying videos on social media claiming their apartment was stolen, begging for help. Despite my loan, the condo sold at auction for $50,000. That amount was applied to his debt, but he still owed me $20,000 plus interest and legal fees. Week 5. Alistair's restaurant closed. When he couldn't make rent and was severely undercapitalized, the landlord terminated the lease. Brenda Chen handled the asset seizure. All equipment and furniture were sold to cover legal costs. Alistair tried to borrow from 3 different places, but his ruined credit history, including the defaulted business loan to me, rejected him instantly. He started working a side job selling groceries while Sarah vanished after realizing he no longer had the condo. My parents held out a little longer. The first month they borrowed from Uncle George. The second month, everything was late. The mortgage company started calling daily. My dad, despite his poor health, had to take a part-time job at a hardware store. The climax arrived on a Thursday night around 9:00 p.m. Someone was pounding on our front door. Not knocking, pounding. I looked through the peephole and saw Alistair. He looked dreadful, messy, hair-wrinkled clothes, and I could smell alcohol on his breath. I opened the door, but didn't step aside. What do you want? What do I want? He laughed coarsely. I want my life back. I want you to stop being a spiteful jerk and fix what you destroyed. You defaulted on a contract. Actions have consequences. I was building something. I had a plan. His voice got louder. Neighbors were starting to peek out their windows. You threw it all away because your ego got hurt at a family dinner. Give me back the keys to my condo. You used it as collateral. You lost it. Caleb appeared behind me. You need to leave now, Alistair. Alistair focused on Caleb and an ugly look crossed his face. Oh, here he is. The perfect husband. Tell me, Caleb. How does it feel watching your wife destroy her family over her boring programmer job? Who do you think you are? A structural engineer? You're just a lucky guy with a high salary in Silicon Valley. He stepped closer, pointing his finger at my face. You think you're so special because you sit in front of a computer all day? You're nothing. Just a lucky college graduate. Last warning. Leave. Make me. He raised his hand, not a bottle, but the condo key he had forfeited to me. He threw it hard at our front door, and the key hit the tempered glass entrance with a jarring clank, luckily not shattering it. That act of violence was the final straw. You will pay for that, I said. Caleb was already calling 911. The police arrived in under 10 minutes. They found Alistair 2 streets over shouting. We had the whole incident on video surveillance. Do you want to press charges? The officer asked after taking our statements and the neighbor's testimony. I looked at Caleb. He nodded. Yes, I said. I want to press charges for vandalism and public disorder. The confrontation at my front door was the undeniable end. The next day, I went to the courthouse and filed for a restraining order. I brought the video evidence, the neighbor's testimony, and the repair bill for the door. The temporary order went into effect immediately. Alistair was forbidden from coming within 100 yards of me, Caleb, or our house. Violation meant immediate jail time. 2 weeks later, at the restraining order hearing, Alistair showed up with a court-appointed public defender. The judge reviewed the evidence. You threw objects at someone's property. You caused a public disturbance? Do you understand the severity of this? The permanent restraining order was granted. Alistair was not allowed any contact with us whatsoever. They couldn't manage. The 3rd month they received a foreclosure notice. They couldn't secure a secondary loan with their ruined credit score. My dad tried selling some old belongings. My mom joined a pyramid scheme selling weight loss shakes. It was all futile. They were forced to quickly sell the house to avoid foreclosure, eventually moving into a 2-bedroom apartment in a rough part of town where the sirens were constant. Ironically, the rent there was higher than their old mortgage, but no bank would work with them anymore. The stroke and the final boundary. 6 weeks after I had completely cut them off, around 9:00 p.m. on a Wednesday, my mom called. Her voice was shaking. Evie, please. Your father collapsed at work. His blood sugar was dangerously high. He's in the hospital. We cannot afford the bills. The Evie of years past would have been at that hospital in 10 minutes. The current Evie only felt a cold emptiness. That's tough, Mom, I said. I hope you figure it out. He could die. Evie, your father could die because we can't afford the treatment. You should have thought about that before you publicly humiliated my husband and me. I told you I was no longer the provider. We were wrong. The party thing was stupid and cruel. We know that now. Please don't punish us by letting your dad die. I am not punishing anyone. I am just not paying anymore. The county hospital has assistance programs. Utilize them. I hung up. I powered off my phone. Caleb placed a hand on my shoulder. He didn't say anything, he just stood there. After 10 minutes of silence, I looked up at him. You know, Caleb, I said. I don't feel guilty. I let the family-installed guilt that had plagued me for years finally dissolve. My dad survived. He faced a long recovery and massive medical expenses that he and my mom had to manage entirely on their own. Alistair eventually found work as a waiter, living in a single room above a noisy bar. My parents had to sell off every remaining valuable asset just to subsist. They stopped calling because they knew I would never answer. Family is not a license to exploit. I lost $200,000, counting Alistair's loan support payments and the cost of the canceled party, and years of mental stress learning this lesson. But in the end, I regained something far more valuable: my self-respect and my independence. I had established a boundary. That boundary burned to the ground, but now, on that scorched earth, I built a new solid one. I am no longer Evie, the walking ATM. I am Evelyn Davis, the master of my own life and finances.